This is Ground Affected.
I am your dad.
And welcome to forgetting to fill your vat in your 3D printer. Also, have you leveled your bed lately? In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted Jazel from Djinnwars. In previous videos, I've painted a couple commissions for a company called Djinnwars, and they create a story around these djinns and comics and movies and all sorts of things that go with them. And recently, they'd been getting these characters sculpted, and I've been painting a whole load of them for Djinnwars. This is one of the recent characters that I had painted for them, and this video is just going to show you how I painted this character and everything that I did to make her look like she looks now. Before we get into the video, I'd like to ask you to click the like button and consider giving me a subscription. And while you're down there, make sure to leave some words in the little space that YouTube gives you to leave words for your favorite content creators. And if I don't live up to your standards in this video, it's as easy as following the instructions that I leave in the last few minutes of the video. And so, let's just get straight into painting Jazel. So, this is going to be slightly different to previous videos that I've done. I'm going to show you a slightly different angle so you can kind of see maybe more my body language and stuff as I'm painting these models. Essentially, I start off with the same process that I do for almost all my models, and that is a Vallejo surface primer, and then I let that dry. Once that's dried, for this particular model, I'm going to start off with the skin tones. I use a lot of water to thin my paints. I find that because I use the Vallejo Fairy Flesh set, it tends to be easily watered down with just plain water as opposed to using any kind of airbrush thinner. I save the airbrush thinner for more important times, like when I really need to thin the paint. For the skin tones, I'm going to start off with the base coat. If you would like to see any more information about painting skin tones, I have many videos that I've done on this subject, so please feel free to browse the rest of my channel. But for these skin tones, I started out with the base coat, and then I slowly started to work my way up. With this particular model, what I did was I placed her in the base, and I started to paint the highlights based off of her positioning and how she's standing on the base. I move the model around and I make sure that I can see where the light is going to be hitting, and I'm going to focus all my attention on the highlights into these areas that I know are correct because I'm looking at the entire model as one piece. I use very thin layers for skin tones specifically because I like to layer them up amongst each other, and then once it's all been done, I like to give it a clear coat and let it dry for the night. So getting onto the base, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just spray a very light coat of a dark kind of iron sort of color. While that dries, I'm going to paint the white base coat that I need on the white parts of this model. White is one of the most difficult colors to cover anything really, so I tend to do the whites first if I'm going to do anything white on the model. After the whites have dried, I give them a clear coat with a clear lacquer just to seal in the whites and protect it in case I do make any mistakes in the future steps. Going back to the skin, I need to start painting all the little patches of skin that stick out in the arms, and I'm going to start off with a base coat, the exact same base coat, and I'm going to start to slowly put very thin down layers of the consecutive colors over the top of each other. As long as you thin the paints in this step, it's going to be easy enough for you to blend between the two. You can go quite fast in the jump and then come back and glaze over the top if you want to. Either way is acceptable. You can also wet blend this if you wanted to. I just chose to do a base coat and slowly work my way up to the brightness of the highlights on the skin tones. While all of that was drying, I then started to paint the base color onto these little tassels that hang out the front of her dress that she's wearing. I gave that a light dusting of dark orange and then a highlight of a light bright orange, and then went in to paint the blue metallics across all the little trimming that's on this little piece. Then working on the base again, I'm going to take bronze and I'm going to dry brush that with a very large dry brush all over the base. This is to give some texture. And whilst that dries, I'm going to quickly go in and base coat some of the blue armor on the model. And yes, I do work very erratically and I go between parts quite often. It just depends on what's happening in my brain. So at this point, I'm now using bronze to base coat all of the trimming along the base. I then went over the top with the dry brush of red leather just to give it a little bit of a highlight so it wasn't just completely flat. I also painted a matte coat over the top of this, only the top section, to give it a bit more of a texture contrast between the metallics and the matte finish. I then took my time to paint all the base coats of orange on the dress, and I went back in with the airbrush to highlight certain edges. As you can see, the paint was super thin for this area, and because it's a flowy, smooth object, I don't want there to be any paint stroke marks. So in order to stop that, I make sure that I use a very thin layer of paint, and this way, if I build it up over a couple of layers, it's going to give me a smoother result at the end. I use the airbrush to just add a couple of highlights here and there. And then painted a base coat over her boots. While all the other paint was drying, I went back into the armor again and started painting the base coat for the blue armor. Technically it's turquoise, but we're not gonna really pinch at straws here. It's blue, right? We'll call it blue. Remember earlier I spoke about not wasting my airbrush thinner? This is the time that I would use airbrush thinner for painting details like this when I need to line stuff and be really precise and I need the paint to flow a lot better. I will use airbrush thinner in that moment because that will allow the paint to flow a lot better. It's just better than water when it comes to that. But in most cases, water will do the job pretty much just as well. As I said earlier, the best way to avoid leaving any paintbrush marks in your piece is to use thin layers. If you use multiple thin layers, the paint will dry on top of each other and it won't leave any marks. If you use too thick of a layer, it's gonna be thick enough to leave a track from where your brush and your hand had moved the brush through. So something like this metallic blue, what I would do with this is I would paint it in a very thin layer at first. You will still see some of the dark pieces underneath, but I'll paint it very thin and then I'll come back and I'll just do a second layer over the top. I then go back in and I mix up a little bit of gold with the bronze, and I make sort of a in-between bronze and gold color, and this I'm going to use for all the rest of the trimming on the armor of this model. This is another place where I would suggest, if you can afford it, try to get yourself some airbrush thinner or flow improver or something of that kind, just because if you add a little bit of this, it lasts extremely long if you're using it on a wet palette, for example. But if you add a little bit of this, it will help your paints flow so much easier, and it helps with lining of things, especially when the paints don't gum up and make a little bubble of stuff. They flow a lot easier into creases and edges and right up to lines and stuff. Then it was time to work on her face, and the first thing I did was I painted the base coat down for her hair. As you can see, when I airbrushed her skin tones down, I went quite a bit over onto the hair itself, but this is a good thing because I'm actually going to use this as the highlights for the tone that's going over the top of that. So this is kind of like a pre-shade essentially. I then went back onto the hands, and because I needed to have a clear transparent piece of magic in the one hand and a sword in the other, I couldn't just airbrush these pieces. So what I did was I painted the base coat on them, and I slowly but surely worked their colors up. Going back to the face, I'm going to paint the eyebrows on. I used a mix of brown and the red that I used for the base coat of her hair to make the eyebrow color. Here you can see me just working in more layers of skin tones as I'm brightening them up as I go along. I'm then going to come back and paint the lips on the model so that she has nice, full, great looking lips. Again, while all that's drying, I'm also going and cutting in between with the skin tones on the hands and the skin tones on her face and the eyes and everything. I'm kind of going in between things as I let each layer kind of dry, because you need to give it time to dry, otherwise you'll just be tearing up the layers with your paintbrush as you move through. Then for the eyes, I've been over this in multiple videos, but essentially I'm going to paint a black base coat. This is going to be the shape of the eyes, and I'm going to come back in and shape the inside parts of the eyes with the white. It's not white, we all know it's not white. It's actually highlight skin from the Vallejo Nocturna series. But that's a base coat for my eyes, and then I will put like a slight grayish blue in the corners, and then I'll just line up where I'm going to place the irises. On a model of this scale, especially with the smaller head and smaller eyes, I tend to make the irises a little bit bigger than they would naturally be, only because it just helps to create a little bit more attention and draws your own eye to the piece itself. Hopefully you found something in this video that helps you in your future projects, whatever you're painting or working on next. And of course, if you did, the best thing you can do to help the channel is to share this video with your gran. If you want to support any more than that, the next best thing you can do is to watch the next video that is recommended to you in the last few seconds of the video. And if you feel like you want to support even more than that, or you just want to be part of our private Discord, then don't forget to check the link in the description for my Patreon, where you will get nothing. However, you do get access to the private Discord, in which the best group of 3D printers and painters on the internet are hanging out every day, bruh. Also, I just want to give a quick update about the t-shirts that were ordered when I had opened up the pre-orders for them. The company that I had originally ordered the shirts from produced the biggest load of poo-poo that I'd ever seen in my life. And so I sent them back, and I'm now going to be reordering through a completely different company. Don't worry, they are on their way. I'm just trying to make sure that you get the best product and not a load of crap from a company that doesn't care about their customers. Also, don't forget, if you share your work on Instagram and you hashtag ground affected, make sure it's a hashtag. Don't at me, because if you at me, I probably won't see it. So make sure to hashtag. I check the hashtag every couple of days, and I will share whatever you share to that hashtag over in my stories on Instagram. And of course, we are at the end of a video made by Ground Affected. And if there was anything you didn't like in this video, or you just don't think it lived up to your standards, the only thing I can tell you, bruh, is just click the dislike button, dude, and just f*** off. And now I've got to go finish painting a second one of these.